Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the Department of Navy Small Business Program webinar today. I am Arvise Washington, the Deputy Director for the Department of Navy's Office of Small Business Programs. Welcome to our webinar series, where we will be hosting webinars on various topics throughout the summer. I would like to direct you to our website at www.secnav.navy.mil/small-business, where you can find a wealth of information, including our Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs Operations Plan. You can locate your small business professional and find information on how to do business with the Department of Navy and Marine Corps, including the Long-Range Acquisition Forecast. To learn more about our upcoming events, I encourage you to connect with us on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our YouTube channel. I would like to highlight the Department of Navy Small Business Program Small Business Procurement event co-hosted with NDIA will be held virtually this year, August 31st through September 2nd. You can search for more information on our website, or you can visit NDIA Don Gold Coast event for more information. We do not have a webinar next week, but our upcoming one will be July 28th, featuring the Naval Warfare Center's Small Business Team, and also July 30th with NAVFAC Small Business Team on how to do business with NAVFAC. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Carlton Hagans, who will do an introduction of his webinar that he's hosting today with the Marine Corps Installation and Logistics Command. Over to you, Carlton.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this installment of the Headquarters Marine Corps Installations and Logistics Industry Engagements. Today's engagement is presented by Mr. Jamie Thompson, who is the Senior Procurement Official at Headquarters Marine Corps Installations and Logistics. He will be sharing information about our organization, what I&L is doing to improve interaction between the Marine Corps Installations, Logistics, and Contracting Enterprise, and how you can help. Mr. Thompson is a member of the Senior Executive Service and currently serves as the Assistant Deputy Commandant, Installations and Logistics for Contracts. He is responsible for award, administration, and oversight of contracts supporting Marine Corps operating forces and supporting establishment requirements. He leads the Marine Corps Field Contracting System, which is comprised of over 20 procurement offices and 400 procurement professionals. He has both private and public sector contract and acquisition experience and understands the challenges on both sides. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jamie Thompson. Jamie, are you there?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me now? Hello?
I hear you.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry. I thought I hit unmute and, okay, great. Carlton, I want to thank you very much for the warm introduction. And Ms. Washington, I want to thank you also for having us today with the small business community, the opportunity to be with the small business community that's on board. And for those that are joining us from your outstations, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. I'm a strong proponent of small business. I've been in this business for 30 years, slightly over, actually. And what I have found is that the small business community is it's agile. It has a cost advantage that's beneficial to the warfighter, and also it's more innovative. So, and I like the innovation, the cost structure, and the agility that you and your businesses and your teammates and your employees, your highly valued workforce bring to my warfighters. So, so with that, let me go to the agenda, please, the next slide. And let's go over it. Today, what I want to address is I want to go over the I&L mission, the installation logistics, I&L mission. Also want to talk about how the Department of Navy procures supplies. For some of you may not be aware, most of you probably are, but I'd like to reiterate that today, get after that. Then I want to go over the FY19 procurement spend for the United States Marine Corps, so you can get an overview of that. Then I want to transition into what are we doing at I&L to work better with the small business community, to work better with industry, and with the goal of improving how we bring contract solutions to the fight. And then I want to address what I think small businesses can do to have a better hit rate. You know, when you're engaging us prior to the proposal submission, and as you're engaging us through delivery too. So with that, I'd like to go to the next slide, which is giving you what my role is. My role is really a lead and influence position, working with the I&L procurement enterprise so that they can execute sound business arrangements that are, number one, timely, two, legal, and compliant. And we do that through policy, over threshold reviews, we call that oversight. We also do assistance with our field activities, where I have a strong staff at Headquarters Marine Corps that's working with our professionals in the field to collaborate and share information on best practices. So again, so we can get that contract solution to the warfighter as quickly as possible. My focus areas are, number one, on-time execution. I'm a huge fan of plan your work, work your plan. I grew up as a project management professional. And so that's what I bring to the contracting team. That's my focus is, are we executing in accordance with our plan? Also looking to reduce pulp, going to get after that a little bit today. Reduce our bridge contracts, because I believe bridge contracts delay contract awards and are disheartening to the industry and small businesses that are counting on timely awards. And reducing protests through transparency. You know, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that through engagement with our small business partners and colleagues that we are being transparent in how we're doing business, and when we make a contract award, everybody understands what happened, how it happened, and how they can go forward, you know, whether they're going to execute or whether they're going to take lessons learned for their next proposal. And in addition to that, I'm always focused on career growth for my workforce. We won't discuss too much of that. We'll discuss a little of that today, and how that impacts you. But I believe the workforce is really the catalyst for good solutions and the catalyst for the optimal support for our warfighter to give them the competitive advantage going forward. And obviously, I'm always concerned about compliance. So with that, let's move to the next slide, and I want to get into how we buy. The Department of Navy has 10 head of contracting activities. Those activities are HCAs, we'll use that terminology. Those HCAs are focused typically in their centers of excellence. So if there's a shipboard system or a ship or a submarine, it's going to go to the Naval Sea Systems Command. If there's an aviation system, whether it's Marine Corps Aviation, Navy Aviation, that's going to go to NavAir. If it's a research, like if you're familiar with Type 61, 62 funds, you know, basic research, that's going to be handled by ONR. So what I've given you here on this slide is something you take away with you as to how the Department of Navy procures supplies and services to support the warfighter, our sailors and Marines. And what I wanted to highlight is we have two HCAs inside the United States Marine Corps. One is mine, I&L, which focuses on the operational forces, or the Fleet Marine Forces, excuse me, and the supporting establishment. And then we have the Marine Corps Systems Command, who you would have, hopefully a number of you were on the call or the webinar last week, where my colleague, Mr. Bill Williford, talked about what's happening in his command at the Marine Corps Systems Command. And they focus on weapon systems, the acquisition and development of weapon systems for the Marines, for our Marines as we go forward. So just the reason I want you to look at this and spend some time on this, reflect on this after the brief is over, or the webinar is over, excuse me, is when you have a solution that you want to direct towards a Marine, your solution, if it's in construction, you're going to go to NAVFAC. If you're in if it's a solution for aviation, you're most likely, you're going to go to NavAir for that solution, so that you can get to the right technical expertise and the right procurement expertise to vet that solution and get that solution to our warfighters. let's go to the next slide, please. I provided here an analysis of the FY19 spend, United States Marine Corps spend. It excludes aviation, because aviation, for those that are familiar with the Marine Corps and the Navy, is procured through what we call blue dollars. So that doesn't really come into Headquarters Marine Corps procurement operations. It goes directly to NAVAIR. It's influenced by what Marines need, obviously, but NAVAIR is a center of excellence for that. But everything else is listed right here. And we spent $5.1 billion in FY19. Of that $5.1 billion, the top 20 product and service description codes account for 57%, or $2.9 billion. And these are the areas I thought would help you to focus where do your supplies and services fit into what we buy, our requirements. And in addition, on this slide, I'm giving you who the primary Department of the Navy head of contracting activity would be for these supplies. So for example, the Marine Corps spent $541 million in the maintenance of our buildings, our infrastructure. The primary HCA for that's going to be NAVFAC. With regard to the second largest spend of FY19 was in radar systems. That would be for the new system that we're bringing online, the air-ground task-orientated radar, which is also known as GATOR, and TPS-59 maintenance and upgrades. So we spent $256 million in those areas, and the buyer for that is going to be Mr. Williford's command at Marine Corps Systems Command. For us, the third largest item was dining facilities. So my organization is responsible for the chow halls at all Marine Corps installations, making sure that Marines get nutritious meals that are designed for the workout, the caloric needs that they're going to have. And we spend on an annual basis around $224 million in that area. So here are I'm not going to go through all of these, but this is for you to take a look at to see where we spend. If you're running data analysis using FPDS NG data, which is publicly available, you can replicate these results yourself. You can see exactly where the spend is. I think my recommendation why I'm sharing this with you is look at where we're spending money in these PSCs, look at what your product and service offering is and where you fit, and then look at who's buying that. And hopefully that will help you bring your solutions to those that are best prepared to review them and get after that. In addition, your small business professional for each of these primary HCAs will also be good points of contact for you as you go forward. Next slide, please. Giving you another look at how we spend our money. Basically, I'm giving you the HCAs. What I wanted to show here is you can see the buying service, the Department of the Navy HCA, and you can see the dollars, the summary of the dollars we spent FY18, FY19. You can see how we're getting after that. So for example, in FY19, you're going to see that Marine Corps Systems Command procured $1.7 billion in weapons and weapon-related systems for our Marine Corps, and also IT systems. I&L, my organization, spent $1.0 billion. So of the total $5.1 billion that's under the Marine Corps spend, Marine Corps HCA's procured $2.7 billion, and the rest was procured by other naval activities. One of the highlights I want to stress here is that back to construction and maintenance of buildings, the Marine Corps spends a tremendous amount of money in that area. And you'll see that NAVFAC is our contracting agent for that. And it was $1.4 billion in FY19. I provided some other information for you too below that. You'll see those in the grayed out areas. I just wanted to show you when it comes to contract actions, you can see, and I'm just going to stay in the FY19 column, you're going to see that in FY19, the Marine Corps procured its $1.5 billion of supplies and services across 15,000 transactions. Of those 15,000 transactions, 90% of them were below the simplified acquisition threshold of $250,000. So, and this correlates to how the federal government spends money. The majority of how the federal government spends money is under simplified acquisition threshold. and above what we call the SAT, the Simplified Acquisition Threshold. Only about 10% of our transactions are in that area. I also am giving you a breakout of the spend by service and supply. You'll see that in FY19 we spent $1.2 billion in supplies and $3.8 billion in services. So I hope that's helpful, whether you're a product manufacturer or supplier of products, or if you're a service provider. I hope that gives you some insight there. In addition, on this slide, I gave you the way we buy, the competition type. And what I'm trying to show here is for competitive negotiation, which is FAR Part 15, we spent $1.6 billion in using those procedures. For FAR Part 16.5, which would be the multiple award contracts, also known as fair opportunity, that we spent $2.1 billion in that area. And I'm giving this to you because as you're structuring your business and you're looking at, okay, what FAR parts do I really need to understand, or what expertise do I need to acquire? I hope this helps you too as you're doing your research to prepare to position your solutions so that we'll procure them. The other thing that two more items on this I wanted to stress: when you look at the United States Marine Corps, at the very bottom of the slide, you'll see competition summary. You'll see the Marine Corps, 81% of what we procured in FY19 was competitive, meaning it was put out for competition. Only 19% of the spend was sole source, and this is based on dollars. So I thought you'd find that interesting. In my HCA, our competition year to date for FY20 is running at 90.2%. Of that, 87 is considered effective competition, which means when we put the solicitation out in the street for you to look at, we receive 2 or more bids in response to every solicitation that we've put out. So I just wanted you to see that. And then for some information on the right-hand side, I'm breaking down the comparison of the non-HCAs, how many transactions they do, and the dollars that they obligate for FY19. So I hope this is an informative slide. I wanted to get after that so you could understand how the Marine Corps buys, and as far as what the Marine Corps is spending it on. I hope this is helpful and gave you the top 20%. Now I'd like to get on to what we're doing at the system in I&L to increase how we're doing business with you. Next slide, please.
So, Mr. Thompson, while we're transitioning to the next slide, we do have a question. If a firm develops a solution, for example, in supply chain management that reduces movement, overstock, and cost, does I&L have a program like SBIR? And if so, how does the firm go about speaking with someone to do a demo, and who would that person be?
Okay, so that's a great question. So if I was advising you let me tell you, I'm not working for you, but let's get after that. Sorry. I would recommend talking to Mr. Hagans, who we met earlier, and ask him if you can get in touch with the I&L representative, someone like Nextlog that works under I&L, or talk with our logistics policy and supply chain initiatives, talk with them to brief your solution and then go forward from there. That's what I would recommend. We don't have a SBIR program for that, but that's how I would get after it. But we are I will say that I&L is using OTAs, and they are using some consortiums. We also have traditional contracting too to get after solutions that become requirements for the United States Marine Corps. Does that answer the question? Over.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And if they provide a follow-up, then I'll jump back in. So back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that question. Great question. Okay, so let me explain it again. Back to my focus. It's really the title of the slide. It's getting contract solutions to the fight and getting it to the fight as quickly as possible. So here, what I am doing is looking at how does our system, the Marine Corps Field Contracting System, compress that pult. Because I believe that shorter pults are better for my warfighters, gets them the solutions faster. I also believe it's important for you, the small businesses, for when you put a proposal in, you have a reasonable expectation that the United States government is going to look at it, going to evaluate it, and get you a response as soon as possible. And I believe that's important because the sooner we can execute, it makes it's better for you because it decreases your proposal to cash cycle. It also makes it easier for execution where you're, you don't have turnover in key personnel. Your proposal's still fresh. You know, in the past, when I've been on your side, it's been very frustrating when I put a proposal in and then 18 months later, it's great to get the win, but then it's like, oh my, now I got to figure out where's my key personnel. They moved, so, and all of a sudden I'm trying to reassemble the team to get after that. And I think at the end of the day, that's harder on you and that's harder on my warfighters. So we're really trying to get the PULT down. And I believe that PULT is also, as you can see on the slide, I believe it represents the quality of the industry engagement that we've had in the process. I think it represents the quality of the RFP. Do we get a good RFP out? Do we get an RFP that you can develop a good proposal to, that we can do a good evaluation, hopefully award off of initials? And then it also shows evaluation efficiency. There's some subgroups in there that I track too, but this is what OSD is tracking. They started tracking it at FY18, the second quarter. And we find this to be a valuable tool. So our strategy to reduce our PULT was, first, in FY18, we started doing more focused source selection trainings for our team, for our acquisition teams. And with that, we use very much the way the Marine Corps does a workup for a float, or as if you're in the Navy, as you would do crew training as you're getting ready to go on deployment. We take the whole acquisition team, contracting officer, the contract specialist, the technical evaluators, the lawyer, who is going to be working with that team. And everyone who's working with that team goes into the source selection training module, and they take that usually about 30 days out before proposals come in. Sometimes it's 2 weeks, but it helps to get everyone on the same page so that the team knows what they're doing moment one. And it really warms my heart when I'm listening on I would say program management reviews of contract management reviews, excuse me, is when I hear someone saying, yeah, the proposal's coming on Monday, the team was trained last week, Tuesday morning, the team's assembly at 08, and we're going to get after this, plan on having this proposal, first proposal we select for evaluation done by the following Wednesday, and you just hear the system and it makes things go faster. So that's been successful for us. The other area that I've been focusing on, the strategy, the second bullet there, is reducing my headquarters review time. In the past, it seemed like it was a slow process. There's definitely a process that was frustrating my customers, frustrating industry, and also frustrating my staff. So we've been very diligent about how do we reduce our review times. And this year, compared to last year, we're experiencing a 43% reduction in the number of times for when we have to review an acquisition document before a contracting officer can proceed. So I'm very proud of that. In addition to that, I've been working on with Carlton Hagans, Mr. Hagans, excuse me, been working with him and reaching out to industry and asking industry to help us with educating my contracting workforce on the business development process and the proposal preparation process. And I'm going to give you a couple of slides to show you what we've been doing in that area. Because I believe that if my folks understand what you're going through before you submit a proposal, it will make them understand your process and how it should integrate with their process, which will get us to a faster evaluation and a faster award, which will result in that contracting solution getting to the warfighter sooner at the end of the day. And part of that industry engagement is also now, as of working with Mr. Hagans, we are now, I'll use the Marine term, encouraging my contracting officers to release draft RFPs, especially for the larger ones. We are working to get draft RFPs out. Usually on a monthly basis, I get to look at the contract performance progress schedules, the acquisition progress schedules. And that's something I'm always looking at is, okay, that's something the teams have to brief me on. Did you release a draft RFP? And we'll get to that a little bit later. And so this has been the strategy on the left. And if you follow the arrow to the right, you will see these are the results we believe that we're achieving through our strategy. And in FY17, one of our contracts took 641 days from RFP release to contract award, which was absolutely too long. And in FY18, with the source selection training, our average, these are new contract awards, our average new award, Paul, was 335 days. In FY19, we ended the year with an average of 116 days. This year for FY20, we're projecting 126 days as the average PULT from RFP release to contract award. So far, we've awarded 16 of the 30 large contracts that were planned for this year, and we're running at 105 days. So we think we're getting after it. And you can see for FY21 and 22, we're looking to shave it even more. Ultimately, we want to get under that 90 days for the type of work that we're doing, and the type of work that we're at, the type of proposals we're asking you to submit. I believe we should be somewhere in the 70 to 90 day as we go in the future, but that's what we're working on, and we think we're achieving that. So, so again, how do I get contract solutions to the fight? Next slide, please. Let me give you an example of, this is an example of the training that we're giving to our contracting officers, trying to make them trying to help them better understand the business development cycle. In this slide, just for trademark purposes, I want everyone to know I'm not endorsing the Shipley process, nor am I discouraging it. This is just the one I picked for the slide. So I'll leave it at that. But laying over the government actions and your actions as you're looking at, as we're going through the different selling phases, and trying to make my folks understand why it's important for them to engage you, why it's important for them to answer questions. I know in the past, a lot of folks have asked, you know, when's the last point I can start? When's the last point of which I can talk to the contracting officer? That would be the RFP, the RFP release date is when the communications become very formal, as you know, through the question and answer. So you can talk throughout, but hopefully before the RFP goes out, through RFIs, sources sought, and market research initiatives, I'm hoping that my team and your teams are talking. And bottom line, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, I'm reminding all of my contracting officers and specialists from GS7 to GS15 that per FAR 15.201, acquisition professionals should welcome engagement with industry to increase the understanding of what industry can do and for industry to understand what the government wants. Okay, so that's the purpose of this slide. This is the purpose of the training. I'd like to move on to the next slide, please. So this slide was developed, this is another slide that we're sharing with our people. This slide was developed because when I talk with my contracting officers and I say, how much time are you giving industry for a proposal? They go, I'm giving them 30 days. And I'm like, wow, okay. And for some reason, people that haven't been on the other side, the side that you're on, they don't understand that 30 days is a very, very short timeline to develop a multi-page proposal for a complex solution. So what we're doing here is I'm showing my contracting officers and specialists that a typical 28-day proposal cycle, development cycle, typically you all, from my experience, are only getting 7 to 8 days of actual touch writing time. So I want them to understand why there should be urgency when you submit questions. We should answer questions. We shouldn't be holding questions till the end of the, to very late in the process. And if we can, we should be probably answering questions in several tranches, tranche 1, tranche 2, tranche 3, because there are going to be additional questions that come from the first and second sets. So I want them to see that. So here, what I'm trying to leave them with is at the bottom where I call thought to ponder, which is usually the government. And I'm not asking for anyone to throw the red flag, okay, on the football field, but just give me this one. But we can usually safely say that it takes 4 months for the government to convert a requirement to an RFP. I think most of us would agree it's more than that, but let's just go with the 4 months. And then when we give an RFP out to you, we give you 30 days to write the proposal. But by the time you're working with your teaming partners, working with internal reviews, really you're only getting about 7 to 8 days. So that's what I want my contracting professionals to understand, that when you ask for an extension, there might be a good reason for it. And maybe we should really give some serious thought to getting after and giving that if there's a good reason for it. We'll get to that in a little bit. But bottom line here on this slide is for my contracting professionals to understand that better proposals, the key to better proposals is early and frequent release of draft RFPs. So again, this is an example of what we're sharing. And let me go to the next slide. And this slide is about just trying to show, once again, the details of how complex it is on your side and of what you're doing as you're developing a proposal, and trying to underscore the need for my contracting professionals to answer your questions as quickly as possible, okay? And that's all that this slide is trying to do, is show them that you have technical teams, cost teams, technical approaches, affect cost solution, the costing of the solution. You have partners, subcontractors, and vendors that you're dealing with while you're working through the process. And again, trying to show them the importance of why they need to answer questions quickly and hopefully concisely, so that you can make decisions and help you as you're developing your proposals. Next slide, please.
Before we move on, sir, we do have a question.
Sure, shoot.
As agencies such as the National Institute of Standards and Technology put out certifications for both the government and contractors, for example, in regards to IT operations, does Headquarters Marine Corps I&L look to industry partners to collaborate and help them prepare? And if so, does Headquarters Marine Corps have a CIO or IT PLC they may be interested in such a collaboration?
So the Marine Corps has a CIO for the whole Marine Corps. I&L is a portion of the Marine Corps. If there is a white paper or a solution that the questioner wants to put in front of that CIO, I'd recommend that they draft that up and then work with their small business professional to try to get that, to get that document in front of the right people for review. Does that answer? Okay. Good.
And also, so what I will add is, if you visit our Department of Navy Office of Small Business Programs website, on our homepage we have a map of the United States where you can locate that small business professional at a specific command that you're looking to do business with. And I'll turn it back over to you, sir.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate that. Okay, this slide right here is where I'm going to brief you on what we're doing, but I'm also going to ask for a little bit of help. So we started a pilot program in FY19 where we started reaching out to vendors within our HCA, and we wanted to ask them about key performance indicators of how are we doing. Basically, it's a vendor survey, and we believe that back to what I hope you've seen so far in this webinar, that the better that you understand what we're looking for and we understand what's important to you, the better we work together and we collaborate, the better the solution for the warfighter, the faster ability to get that solution to the warfighter. We believe it really enhances speed and reduces waste in the acquisition process. So you can see here, this is what I get briefed on. I have a survey team that does this. You'll see that in FY19, we only asked 20 vendors. Again, it was a pilot of which 7 responded. In FY20, we increased that to 41 vendors, of which 18 responded. We're happy with that. You can see that a number of the trends went up. But here's the ask that I have is, if you are providing supplies and services to the United States Marine Corps through the I&L HCA, or if you're bidding on Headquarters Marine Corps, or excuse me, I&L HCA contracts, and you're not on this list, I would like to get your information so that my survey team can include you in the FY21 survey that we're going to do. So that's my ask. Now, with letting you know that, what I want to say is that it looks like we're doing a pretty good job with our vendors. The one area that went down, which is highlighted, is question number 1. we're asking about, are we providing sufficient lead time for proposals? And you'll notice that although we got a green in 19 and a green in 20, it went down about 5 points. So a number of vendors are still telling us that they would prefer a 45-day or a 60-day proposal timeline. So we are sharing that with our contracting teams and the customers that we work with, trying to place their requirements under contract. So we're hearing that, and we're seeing what we can do in that area. So we are spending time with that. And also to get after that too, that's why we're releasing draft RFPs, is to get after trying to get 80% or 70% of what the requirement will be in the future, so you can take a look at it, ask questions up front off those draft RFPs, so that will allow us to keep the acquisition moving as we go towards contract award. But if you are a Marine Corps contractor under the I&L HCA, or you're bidding on I&L HCA opportunities, really would like to make sure that you're included in this survey going forward. So with that, next slide, please.
And I'm just going to jump in.
Please.
You considered making that as a deliverable or procedural in an awarded contract, responding to these surveys? Is that an opportunity there?
I would not put it in the contract. I would ask that vendors reach out to me or reach out to Mr. Hagan, reach out to us, and that we put you on our survey list that way. I don't want to make it a mandatory requirement of a contract, because I'm not sure that's truly a bona fide need of the United States government. So in my mind, it's not, but it's a really nice to have for those that want to take the time to respond. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Okay, this is a summary slide before we get into changing gears to doing business with the United States Marine Corps. But on this slide, what I want to share with you is in the upper left-hand corner, you can see the training strategies that we've applied and the targeted benefits, the source selection training, project management training, business development training, and how we've tried to get after reducing our PALT, reducing our bridges, reducing our protests, developing the skills of our workforce, and improving the delivery of solutions that meet warfighter needs. That's what we've been working at. And if you take a look at the lower left-hand quadrant, you'll see that the protests have decreased dramatically over the last few years. FY19 was a good year for us. We only had 3 GAO protests. We're very pleased with that reduction. Also, we had 0 corrective actions in front of GAO, so we felt good about that. We thought the source selection training was paying off that we gave in FY18. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that the number of transactions have been decreasing. Just like you live within a fixed expense budget as a company. I live within a fixed management to payroll budgets as far as staff. I do not have a money tree to get more staff, so I'm looking for more efficiency for my staff so they don't get worn out and they can put more time on. I'd rather have them dedicate more time to fewer actions than get them worn out on more actions. You can see how we've had a dramatic decrease in that as we've been going forward, and that trend continues for this year too. In addition, my industry partners in the lower right-hand corner tell me they like the trend that they're seeing with the reduction in bridges for our HCA. Like them, when I was on the outside, I was very frustrated with the bridge because it was holding me up from meeting my sales goals, holding up resources I may have placed in other jobs as I'm trying to wait to win an award. And to me, bridges are a reflection, are you awarding on time? So we've had a reduction in bridges, so I'm happy about that. And that trend continues too, so I'm very pleased with that. So that's a summary. Let's switch gears to you. Next slide, please. Okay, so bottom line up front, where do you fit into the United States Marine Corps small business goals? Our goals are right there from FY19. You can see that we had a great year thanks to Mr. Hagans and his leadership and his engagement with my contracting professionals and our customers. We hit all of our goals. But the question I have for you, the questions are in the right-hand column. How can you help us surpass our small business goals going forward? Do you sell supplies and services that my HCA procures? You've had some information on that previously in this deck that will hopefully help you with that. Also, the question I would say is, are you looking at PSCs? Are you looking at FPDS-NG data? Are you looking at our long-range acquisition forecasts? Mr. Hagans and I have put a tremendous amount of energy and focus on improving that. It's not where we want it to be yet. We're moving it to where we want it to be, but it's, I think with the improvements that he's recommended and enlightened me to, I think it's going to be just fabulous as we go forward, and it's going to be fabulous for you, bottom line, so you can help shaping things 24 months out. And then when it comes to selling solutions, are you engaging with your small business professional? For the small business professionals that work with the commands that buy what you sell are in your geographic areas that you sell in? And are you responding to the RFI, request for information, responses? Because that's absolutely critical to us. So where do you fit in is the question that I have. Okay, moving forward, let's talk about some resources and homework. Next slide, please. So again, I keep hitting FPDS-NG. I was always amazed. I had a business developer work for me on the outside he was just a king in that FPDS-NG world. He could tell me if it was an IDIQ, he could tell me who were the awardees, how much business they were doing, what the average size of the order was, to help me determine whether I should be going after work or not. So I think it's a great resource for you to take a look at and get after it. And that's what I use to give you the data today. In addition, commercial development databases, I don't think they're mandatory, but I found them to be helpful when I was on the outside. I'm not endorsing any particular one. I know sometimes people tell me they can be expensive, but sometimes there's some good information on there. As a government contracting officer, I go on those databases too to see what the database is saying about procurements that are of interest to me within my HCA. So it's more than just just industry looking at it, and my senior contracting officers, some of them take advantage of that too. Other resources for you as you're going to market: teaming partners. I think teaming is important. I don't really believe that any one company or firm has everything. I think you get stronger through the team. I think you develop a better solution. And I also think that working with your teaming partners, you're going to see opportunities where you can bring them in, and they're going to see opportunities that they can bring you in. And of course, the best resource of all, in my opinion, is a small business professional. I've worked with small business professionals for, I guess I really got to know them for all of my 30 years in this business. And at one time I was one too. So I think they are really the right point of entry for you to bring your capabilities and demonstrate what you do. Homework, I'm going to recommend the planning piece. You really need to do your research. And I'm sorry if this seems offensive. I'm not trying to be, but I get a number of emails, I get quite a few every week, where someone says, hey, I'm a small business, and if you need something, let me know. It just doesn't get that much attention from me, to be quite frank. What gets my attention is someone that says, Mr. Thompson, I know you have a problem in this area. I think I have a solution. I'd like to spend 15, 20 minutes discussing that with you. And then we sit down, we have a discussion, and we try to figure out, is there merit to the solution? Does the solution fit? Is it a perfect fit? Needs some adjustment, or is it not a good fit? And then working with those individuals to get to the right point of entry inside my business. Because again, my whole interest is making sure that Marines have exactly what they need to go do their mission, come home. That's it. So if you have something that's interesting and I get crazy about it, I'm gonna be a strong advocate for you, as Mr. Hagans will be too. So do your research and make the convincing argument that you understand what my Marines need and that you can help them get after what they're trying to get after, okay? Back to engage. Look at our long-range acquisition forecasts. I know that they may not wow you at this point. I think they're better than what we've had in the past. And I think that, and I know they're going to get better going forward with what Mr. Hagans is recommending. Very excited about that. On the engagement, back to the training that I've had in my past, you need to start shaping requirements 24 months out. Also getting back to FPDS&G, you know, when you're looking at contracts that are out there, you can look at the completion date for that contract. So even if it's not on my long-range acquisition forecast, you should have an idea of what you're tracking and when it's going to end. So homework on your end, but I think it's worthwhile doing it. Let's talk about sources sought. My old chiefs, when I used to go through training, used to stomp the floor 3 times. So I'm going to pretend I'm stomping the floor 3 times on this because I really want to park on this for a minute. When my contracting officers issue a sources sought or request for information, if you're interested, I recommend that you respond. We typically don't share that information. If you mark it proprietary, we don't share it. But it's important for us to understand what your capabilities are, not all of your capabilities, just the capabilities related to what we're looking for, and what's your experience, what are your ideas on how to improve the RFP or the requirement, and what are your ideas on proposal development times? I mean, if your experience is, because you deal with all government buy, or you deal with a larger number of procurement buying offices than I do, or my team does, if your experience is, hey, give us 45 days to do an RFP because I need to do it, you know, I need to get my teaming relationship set. I need to do some solution development. Make the argument. Tell us how much time you need, okay? I'm asking my contracting officers to start asking that question, but if they're not, throw it in front of their face so they see it. In addition, let's talk about proposal page counts. If your experience is that 5 pages is too short for a $100 million contract, you need to tell us that. I pick on that as a sounds like an outrageous illustration, and it is. But if you know that you need 40 pages in your management approach because you want to get across your management plan, your execution plan, how you manage your staff, all that good stuff, it's important. It's important to us, important to you. Then let us know. Don't let us put you into a position where we force you to economize on your proposal, and then we have to do discussions on the back end to find out information we should have gotten on the front end. So back to the respond to sources sought and request for information. I can't stress that enough. That's where I need your help too. And with that, let's move to the next slide, please.
So, sir, while you're moving to the next slide, we did get
Yes.
a question about how do we find that small business professional. The listeners are hearing you talk about Mr. Hagans, but there's a team of small business professionals supporting Marine Corps I&L. And what I would offer is on the Department of Navy Small Business Programs website, there's a map on the front page of the website, or you can search under Doing Business with the Don. You're looking for Find Your Small Business Professional. You can look by state, and you can click on the state that you're interested in doing business with, and it'll show you all of the Department of Navy commands that have small business professionals in their contact information. Or you can click on under Doing Business with the Don, you can click on Find Your Small Business Professional, and then we have the command logos at the bottom. If you click on that command logo, it'll pull up all of the Marine Corps I&L small business professionals. So just wanted to throw that out there. And back over.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I spoke over you. I'm very sorry, Ms. Washington, but exactly what you just said is exactly where I think a small business should be going. Use the power of the web and your Google machine, but go to the Navy site that Ms. Washington mentioned, and that's how I would start it and go from there. Any follow-up questions on that before we move forward?
No, sir.
Okay, got it. Okay, so let me give you some of my thoughts on slide 16. So success, in my opinion. Okay, so what Mr. Hagans didn't tell you is he told you I've been in private industry. So these thoughts are some private industry and some contracting officer experiences, some thoughts here. And when I was in private industry, working and similar BD processes to you, working in an environment like you. I took my division from 70 million to 205 million within 3 years. So I've been in your shoes. I will tell you, I've enjoyed the wins. I've hated the losses, and sometimes after the loss, I've really hated how much money I spent on the loss. Would have rather kept that the bottom line if I didn't have a good shot. So anyhow, just so I have been in your shoes. So I hope I can empathize with you a little bit and share some thoughts. So let's go to success. I really think the key here is delivering a well-articulated solution, and a solution being your approach and your price. They go together, okay? Is delivering that and demonstrating that you are the right selection for the contract award. I think that's exceptionally important. And also the past performance. I find that a number of folks, both in industry and on my side of the fence, across my decades of being in this business, really don't understand past performance. So I share this with you, which is pick the past performance that's appropriate for the solution you're proposing to provide. For example, I have 3 kids. I love all 3 of them. And my wife just shakes her head when I cook dinner for them because it's peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They get fed, stomach's full. Yeah, good day in my book, okay? Good day in their book too. But by no means, the fact that I get my 3 kids fed with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches does not mean that you want me to cater your child's wedding for 250 people with all your friends, your families, your colleagues. That's way outside my range, and it would be a miserable experience for all parties concerned, including me trying to do that. So is your past performance really appropriate for the solution that you're providing? For me, when I'm looking at past performance, I'm just not looking at how well you performed on a job. I'm also interested in, does the job fit the requirement that you're getting after? Back to that catering example. Let's talk about success stories. This is why I love small business. Back to the agility and the cost advantages. A number of years ago, fought the good fight to make a large business or large, full and open competition set aside for small business. It really opened the spectrum for small businesses to come in and look at our problem. And they looked at it with different perspectives. They came up with a different way of getting after and delivering the solution. And as a part of that, we had a tremendous cost savings. And well, I have it right there. A $24 million cost savings compared to what we had spent in the past. That $24 million was already baked into our budget. And so the program manager had it. He's actually getting better service with the small business that won the job than the large business that had it before. Nothing against the people, just talking about the performance, okay? All good people. But that $24 million we were able to put into readiness initiatives to improve the readiness of Marine Corps systems for Marines that use them every day. And they're out there, forward deployed, having to meet mission and helping them with their readiness. So I'm a proponent of small business. So when you're bringing your solutions, tell us where you've done good things in the past and how you're going to bring that to us with your solution. Just a recommendation. I'm working on the COVID-19 task force for OSD. And oh man, I'm running out of time. Sorry about that. And what I wanted to say here is it's amazing to me what small businesses are bringing to the COVID-19 task force and how they're getting after it, how they're making a difference. So good on you. Really appreciate it. Keep it up. The innovation and the agility that you bring is amazing, and we love it. Horror stories. Hey, don't parrot the proposal instructions. You probably see that in some of the Section L instructions that we give out, right? Staffing plans. I've seen staffing plans on critical procurements where things had to get done in a certain timeline. Contractors proposing their large staffs where 50% of the staff was TBD. Did not inspire confidence. On a $200 million RFP in my past, we had a one-page proposal. Did not inspire confidence. Had one a while back where contractor asked for a proposal due date extension, and basically, they didn't tell us why. If they told us why, we probably could have gotten it for them. We probably would have taken that, would have made the risk decision to give it. They just asked for it without telling us why. and they ended up delivering the proposal 2 hours late, and unfortunately I had to dismiss it. So that's what I have. Let's go to the next slide.
Well, before you go on
Go ahead.
ahead, while we're talking past performance, we get a lot of questions about DOD and past performance. So for a small business to go and compete on RFP, is it a requirement that they have DOD past experience? And as a follow-up to that, would commercial past performance be deemed as relevant, or is it government only?
Okay, so I go back to, does the past performance correlate to what we're doing? If someone has DOD past performance and they did a great job and the experience correlates, they're probably going to get a higher confidence rating than someone that does not. What we're looking for with past performance is, what's the confidence that we have that you're going to be able to execute and deliver the solution? It's really a risk-based decision from my perspective. So if you have past performance where the service that was done for the commercial client correlates to what the DOD client needs, it may be a good fit. You should use it. But I always ask when I'm the contracting officer for, you tell me what the past performance is and tell me why it's relevant. So ask those questions of yourself, and in a proposal, I'd recommend that you consider demonstrating why it's relevant. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Okay, so let's, I'm getting close to ending up here, but the keys to success, one more time, you need to understand what we need and fit your solution to it. The way you design a solution may not be what we thought, but if you make a convincing argument that your solution will work and it's the best solution that we can afford, then we'll get after it. Also, I think it's the second bullet, understanding what the warfighter will pay for is very important too. Mr. Kendall, when he was Undersecretary of Defense for HQ&L, used to tell me it's very important to make sure that the industry understands what you'll pay for, and I agree with him. You know, when you're dealing with your Marine Corps customer or your Navy customer or any customer, you know, everybody wants the Lexus, but are they willing to pay for it? Because sometimes they may want the Lexus, but the Toyota will do. I'm not making an endorsement of any car manufacturers, use as an illustration, but so understanding what the warfighter will pay, understanding the budget. Usually our budgets are pretty clear. They're not well hidden for the open procurements. In addition, we already talked about well-written proposals that support award without discussions. At the end of the day, does your proposal allow the contracting officer to award without discussions? If it does, you're going to be getting my vote to move forward if we can afford it, okay? Demonstrated execution plan, just food for thought. And then past performance that conveys confidence. I think conveys confidence is the operative words that I want to leave with you. Over. And with that, I think we're going to go to more questions. Questions, please.
Ashley, sir, we are right on time in wrapping up. I do not see any additional questions. And what I would offer to the listeners is that if you do have questions or would like to speak to Mr. Hagans or Mr. Thompson individually, their contact information is provided in this brief. We will upload that to our OSBP website. And I would like to thank you both for coming out today and leading this webinar for me. It's a wealth of information here. So thank you again, and thank you to everyone for joining in. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Yes, thank you all very much. Thank you for supporting our Marine Corps. I really appreciate it. Over. Out.